Hello, welcome to Jazz Is
Jazz's
MasterClass series
at the National Jazz Museum.
At the National Jazz Museum in Harlem.
I am Sekou McMillan, the curator of special projects.
My name is Albert Marquez, Zach O'Farrell.
My name is Shirazette Titten.
And we are in conversation with the legendary Bertha Hope. Jazz could only have happened here in America.
The key to everything was the radio.
So this world is too dense. 15 minutes isn't enough to cover it all.
Are you ready? I am.
I'm willing to be a person that can hopefully offer them some kind of direction.
So you're still doing it, you're still creating music, you are such an inspiring life. So much has changed, yet?
Oh, lots of things have changed. Yeah. Yeah. I think what basically most of what I'm doing now is really just trying to stay healthy and keep the band going, do more and more research about how to eat better, how to exercise every day. And I'm putting together, there's a fellow musician that has been working on a documentary of my life. It's about 6 years now, it's 7 years. And funding is always the biggest problem. And she's a colleague, she's not a filmmaker or a documentarian. She's just a fellow musician who wanted to do this project. So that's ongoing. And hopefully I'll go into the recording studio to do some music that will show what my development is now and what I've been doing with my own music and with Elmo's music. So that's pretty much where I am now. I've done a lot of interviews. I'm beginning to realize that I'm one of the last out of that era. At least I don't know if there are that many women who are still around, but we're all getting fragile. And, so it's a good feeling to be able to still work and be called to work. And I just feel like I want to do as much as I can for as long as I can for whoever is listening, and to try and keep the tradition of moving forward while also glancing backwards and not to try and make it a little stronger profession, and to try and get people to link up a little bit more for their own protection, because it's still very tough. The music business has always been catch what you can. The union offers very little protection for jazz musicians. You have to have done Broadway or been involved in some other way. The Metropolitan Opera, those people that protect Lincoln Center, musicians who are attached to it for a career. But people who are out in the clubs are sort of really, it's the younger musicians, there's such an array of younger musicians because the schools of music are just pushing them out every year, so there's a glut. The market's a little oversold, I mean, there are more musicians than there are lucrative places to play. So they are they're scrambling. So interesting talking to some of the younger musicians today about what they're facing and what they have to pay for now that producers used to pay for. So it's sort of pay to play with the younger musicians, but it just kind of drives due to the owners of clubs that they're indispensable, or it's okay to mistreat them, yet there's the musicians bring the alcohol into the situation. They use musicians to sell drinks, So I'm hoping to inspire younger musicians to look into their situations and band together for their own protection and try and help each other to make the industry.
It sounds like you are passing the torch and that you continue to inspire women in the business, in the industry.
I hope I do that. I've been meeting a lot of musicians that let me know what an inspiration I am to them. So I think it's important to stay involved and let them know what I've been through, what I went through, and that it's on them to make it better. And they have to realize what the plight is and really come forward to let people know what they're going through.
What would be your advice for the new generation of women, especially for those that perhaps, have gone through a lot and felt like quitting the industry for a time, and, they may still have that calling, but they're not sure. What would you say to them?
Well, I would say, first of all, if you don't have the passion or the real love for the music, that you will really be at a disadvantage. I think you have to really love it. You have to really be deeply committed to it, because it can be very, very, very disillusioning and disheartening. So I think what I'm hoping to see is that younger musicians, and I'm in touch with some younger musicians that I work with every weekend. Not necessarily women, just the younger group need to understand some of the history and why the situation has evolved to be what it is today, and to try to work through these situations together so that they're not isolated as a group who are being exploited. And so I'm just hoping that my presence on the scene lets them know that I'm willing to be a person that can hopefully offer them some kind of direction, or at least help to encourage them to understand that the music business has them. They are at the bottom of the stack, and they really have to learn what's going on and stick together to make it a better place for them, because it doesn't exist right now. So I don't know. I know quite a few younger women musicians who have gone into teaching and have gone into other, but at least they're involved in the industry. They're teaching music somewhere. But to stay on the road or to stay involved, you've got to have a group. You've got to have a group that supports you. It's either your college group, the group that you graduated with, or the school, so that you have that to back you up, and really investigate what the union has done to sort of make it so that we're all considered itinerant musicians still, basically. Um, Everybody's not going to get into the 6 major jazz clubs. So all these other little spots open up and offer musicians nothing. So they put up a tip jar, and that's what they earn, whatever the audience wants to give. That happens in a lot of little places. So there are more musicians than there are venues, and these venues are exploiting them. So I just hope that as I meet younger musicians, that I can help them understand they have a role to play in making it a better life for them. I think that it's an ongoing situation, and there isn't anybody around now to bring all these people together who had the resources to bring people together and support them. Some of the grants are hard to get. Grants that might keep musicians afloat for a year are very competitive. There's just a lot of work that needs to be done. First, they have to discover that it needs to be done. So I'm talking to younger musicians about, talking to the club owners, getting a group together so that they can represent themselves in a mass that can be reckoned with, because it's not going to change from the top down. It has to change from the bottom up. I'm really, it's sad to hear what musicians are having to deal with, that the older musicians, we've all had to deal with circumstances that were hard to get through to, being on the road, and accommodations, and what you pay for, what you don't pay for, what the club owner is responsible for, what the producer is responsible for, has diminished a lot. The musicians are taking on more and more responsibility for the gigs. I was appalled to hear that. But they have to form an organization or their own small groups in order to combat. I hope that I can play a bigger role in that, and even with the musician who's doing the documentary for me, she's has a group of women that she's involved with. I'd like to see the schools, Berkeley School, Manhattan School, Juilliard, take that on as a course, how to deal with the structure there is today.
Thank you so much, Bertha. This was a lovely conversation.
Thank you.
This was Jazz Is, a masterclass series for the National Jazz Museum in Harlem. My name is Talia Castro Pozo. Until next time.